Hello and welcome to Matt Loves Eurovision. It's my Eurovision 2024 Top 37 countdown. It's place number 18, France, Slimane, Mon Amour. Please do click the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, like, share and comment below. A link to the music video is in the description, as is a link to my blog post. Now this is the second of the big five and the third of the automatic qualifiers in my countdown, 5 times winners France. Now their last win was back in 1977, which is before even I was born, but they did come a close runners-up in 2021, of course, with Voila. And in 2016, they've been one of the favourites for the contest, and it was actually one of probably my favourite song that year, or certainly before the show. And they ultimately finished 6th that year. There've also been some recent missteps as well, as is the case with, well, 4 of the big 5 anyway. They had a second from last place in 2022, and last year's placing of 16th, while is a pretty respectable result, I think was quite below the expectations that had been set for it, or that I think people had expected it to do. So what will the result be this year? Well, expectations are once again pretty high for France, and they have a well-known singer, Slimane, and a jury-friendly ballad, putting France in a seemingly good position once again. Now, Slimane, in terms of being an already established artist, well-known artist, or certainly in one's own country, I think Slimane counts probably as one of the most well-known artists to represent their country this year. He first came to prominence in 2016 when he won the 5th series of France's The Voice, but from there on he's gone on to release 4 albums. 3 of those have reached number 1 and the other one reached number 2. He's also had over 25 singles chart entries, both as solo lead singer but also as a featured artist. One of those ones where he was a featured artist was a big number 1. He's also charted in Switzerland and in Belgium, or the French-speaking part of Belgium as well. So pretty broad, certainly within France, but also slightly wider than that as well. He was internally selected to represent France. It was announced all the way back in early November, and his song Mon Amour was also released just shortly after the artist announcement, which is by far and away the earliest release of the 2024 entries. Now, Mon Amour is a rare thing at Eurovision 2024. It's very much a classic, big, French-spoken power ballad. He is one of the 3 co-writers of the song, and he certainly gives it his all in all his performances that he does of it. He is, of course, a very good live singer, as you might expect, having won The Voice. And he really imbues the performance with a lot of power and passion and emotion. And I think it probably goes to show you don't always have to be super innovative to produce something that stands out. Now, one thing I do know from the pre-parties and other performances that is starting to perhaps grate on little people, and admittedly I also find it slightly irritating, I will confess, is that he has a gimmick of standing about 2 meters back from the microphone at one portion of the song and still belting out. But it's really to show just how good a vocalist he is and the passion he has. Now, I might find it a bit of a gimmick, an annoying gimmick, but bear in mind, most people will not have seen that until they see it on either in the semi-final performance they give, or more likely most people will see it for the first and only time in the grand final. And I think that will probably stand out to quite a lot of people, and it's one way of bringing alive doing something different in what otherwise is a fairly classic ballad. So I can see why that will probably be used in Malmo, and I'm sure will go down well with people watching. Now, this has ridden pretty high in the scoreboard app throughout the season and still remains in a high position just outside the top 10. And of course, it's one of the only, I think, 2 male solo ballads, and probably will be, and I suspect it will be the only big male solo ballad in the grand final. And it's going to continue to stand out. Now, of course, a lot of people have identified this as being a very likely jury winner. And given the types of song that have won the jury recently, I think that's definitely possible. I don't think this is going to be a runaway jury winner like you had with Lorraine last year or with Salvador Sobral in 2017. I think it's more likely to be more like sort of the votes in 2019, 2021, 2022, where you have a song that wins the jury, but it doesn't necessarily win by a huge amount. There'll be others not so far behind. And I think that's one of the reasons for that will be is that while he is a great live singer, it's not a groundbreaking song. And whereas there are some songs that are going to be very well sung that are quite innovative and quite different, and I think the juries will reward those as well. So that's why I don't think this will be a runaway winner in the juries. That's why I feel now in the betting, this is currently at the moment is standing quite high in the betting to win, around sixth. I think it's sixth place at the moment. Of course, that changes kind of on a daily basis, or sort of changes from time to time. But I do think that it's probably I think it's a bit of an outside chance to win, really. It's not impossible, but I just think it doesn't have quite enough to beat other songs that will do well in both jury and the televote. Although I think he will do well. He will do very well in jury, and he could well do quite well in the televote, but I just don't know whether it's got enough to win. But I'm not sure winning is quite the point with this entry. I think France has the lowest in terms of the French public, they have the lowest engagement out of the big five with Eurovision. They have the lowest proportional viewership out of the big five within Eurovision. Obviously we know the UK, despite what the media might be like, the UK is a huge fan of Eurovision. A lot of people watch it and engage. We know that's the case with Germany and Spain as well. And Italy now watches in really significant numbers. That's taken off in quite a big way. France is the one where it falls down somewhat. So I think this is probably the delegation's attempt to address some of that, having a really well-known artist, putting in a very really good performance of a fairly straightforward song, but not a divisive song, basically, and achieving what I would expect will be a very good result. Now, obviously, I can't speak for the longer term engagement of the French public with Eurovision, but I do think that this will score a very good result in Malmö. But what do you think? Is it your favourite song? How do you think it will do? Do let me know in the comments as always, and we'll see you again soon.